Hello, welcome to Bloodhaus, the show where we talk about art house horror movies. I'm your host, Joshua Conkel.
And I'm just here to test out my chloroform samples, so I'll get to that when I'm done. We'll see how long it takes me to be out. If you don't hear me talking for an extended stretch of this episode, it's mostly Josh, please be aware I'm passed out on the floor with a stopwatch. Welcome to another week of Bloodhaus, Josh. How you doing?
I'm good. I feel like someone ragged me with a chloroform because I just drove back from Joshua Tree and there was a traffic jam and I started nodding off in my car in a traffic jam. So that was really scary. So I kept slapping myself in the face and it was just it was a lot. But I'm fine.
No.
Everyone's safe. Close call, a couple of close calls, but here we are.
Yeah, listen, maybe you should take a few days off.
Listen, from what? I have no job. All I do is take a few days off.
I think you need a vacation from this vacation.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I mean, this is the perfect movie to be talking about extended car trips and becoming dangerous.
It's true. How are you? What's going on?
I'm okay. Been dealing with a rather emotional week, which with family stuff and then a few other things. It's been a really chaotic and not in a positive way week, but we're getting through it. The upside of which is when my depression strikes, it typically manifests in terms of self-care of I go watch movies.
Oh, good.
So I've weirdly watched a lot of very highbrow movies this week.
Okay.
Which apparently is my comfort food, but it's genuinely been making me feel better. Almost every time I have been experiencing something or going through something that makes me feel away, I've been putting on a very, very arty farty movie, and it has filled my soul. A really good example. Last week, literally when we were recording last week's episode, I don't think this will be noticeable of the episode, but my power went out, and we're forced to stop recording when there was a very loud bang and my whole building shook before the power outage, when I found out that the power lines behind my house exploded. The transformer on them literally exploded when a Mylar balloon from Valentine's Day floated down into the transformer. So it was really bad. It was really scary. Thank God. And there's a bunch of trees around these power lines too. Thank God. Thank whatever, fates.
Whoever.
That it didn't start a fire. Especially here in Southern California, especially following the major wildfires we just had, I was terrified of that as soon as I heard that and rushed outside. But it took our local power company a couple hours to get things back online, so I was like, fuck it, I'm not gonna be able to finish the podcast. I'm not gonna be able to get my work done today, so I'm just gonna leave. And I just scrolled on my phone to see what the nearest movie times were to me, and I was just gonna go walk to an AMC and sit myself down in front of some schlock. Miraculously, the nearest showtime was a movie I'd been trying to see, and I didn't know when it would be out, with a Q&A with the filmmaker, and it was Matthew Rankin's new film for Oscilloscope, Universal Language, which is a new Canadian film about the Iranian diaspora, presented kind of as a very stylized comedy. And I really, really, really love Matthew Rankin's previous movie, The 20th Century, which is kind of a bizarre Canadian biopic about a former prime minister, kind of in the language of Guy Madden to a degree. And I didn't know what to expect from Universal Language, but I was like, I need to get out of the house. I want to see this movie. The director's going to be there. This is perfect timing. Let's go. I cried at this movie. I laughed so goddamn hard at this movie, and I was spat back out of the theater with such an open heart and such wide eyes. It was so perfect. The movie is very much about Iranian cultural identity in Canada, while also talking about the kind of two-way street of shared cultural identity. So it's kind of two narratives, one of which heavily inspired by the films of Abbas Kiarostami, especially Where's the Friend's House, about two girls who are trying to get a 500 bill out of frozen ice so they can help one of their classmates get a new pair of glasses, because the teacher has said that they will expel this kid from school if he does not come back with glasses so he can properly read the board. So they're kind of like going through an Iranian view of Winnipeg to try and get people to help them chop out this 500 bill from the ice. Meanwhile, there is a separate narrative unfolding about a man named Matthew Rankin, played by the director Matthew Rankin, who is quitting his job in Quebec as a government bureaucrat to move back to Winnipeg to be with his mother, his widowed mother, and kind of his journey back through Winnipeg to reconnect with his childhood home and find his mother, and the way these two narratives kind of cross intersect. And there is also like a traveling tour guide kind of giving people a guided tour of Winnipeg, of like, here's the mall that is now that none of the shops are open, but you can still come. You can see where the water fountain used to be, but this is a historical landmark, so you can't loiter in the mall, so you can only be here for all of 30 seconds. And here is the landmark of an important political figure in Canada whose gravesite is at the intersection of a turnpike, so you have to stand in between a highway. And here is a briefcase that someone left on a bus bench in 1974 that's still there, and no one's opened it, but we all wonder what could possibly be inside, and maybe one day he'll come back to pick up his briefcase. It's really beautiful and it's really funny, and it's all in Farsi and in French. And it blends the two really seamlessly. And it paints this really beautiful multicultural picture that gets kind of transcendental at times of Iranian Winnipegging existence that's so touching and beautiful and kind. The poster for the film depicts two men hugging against like a radiating like kind of square background that's all like browns and tans and beige, and it very much captures this movie. There's a scene in it where one character who barely knows the other helps give a guy a lift to Tim Hortons, and when he drops him off at Tim Hortons, he says, "I have 3 brothers in my life, you're my 4th," and hugs him for like 5 minutes. And it's one of the most beautiful things I've seen in a movie in a long time. It is playing with the cinematic language of Iranian cinema. So there's a lot of both narrative and visual nods to Abbas Kiarostami and the director of Gaba, and that is then meshed with kind of the language of Canadian cinema through the eyes of, say, someone like Guy Maddin, but not as experimental as Guy Maddin, probably closer to Adam Agoyan, and kind of the way that Adam Agoyan deals with very tender emotional narratives in kind of like a sprawling narrative strain, thinking of something like Sweet Hereafter or Exotica. And so these are both, like, when I think about Adam Agoyan movies and when I think about Abbas Kiarostami movies, I think like, wow, those are going to be a really great like hour and a half, 2 hours in which I'm going to cry at like really genuine, beautiful human existence. And that's kind of filtered through a very almost like twee stylized comedic lens that's kind of both parodying these things while also genuinely taking their language to present something else. And so it does kind of have absurdist humor in it, while then actually genuinely resolving that human emotion that is so goddamn beautiful. I loved it so much. I've been recommending it to everyone. If you can get yourself out to a theater in LA or New York or Chicago, I think Texas and Seattle might have it right now as well. It's called Universal Language, and I think anyone with eyes and a heart would love it.
That sounds so good. I would love to know more about Iranian film. I know very little. In truth, maybe the only movie I've ever watched in Farsi is Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, which is not Iranian, actually. It's made in California. But I'm very interested in that culture. I had a friend growing up she was Iranian, and her dad had come to Seattle for grad school in 1977. Mm-hmm. And it was like, whoops, I guess we're staying here. Because if you don't know, listener, there was a revolution in the late 70s in Iran where it went from being a pretty Western culture. I mean, you could go on YouTube and watch commercials from there, from the 70s before the revolution. And it's like girls in mini skirts drinking Coca-Colas, listening to rock and roll music. It was very Western.
Iran and Turkey were both kind of presented as like vacation getaways for like white Europeans. Yeah.
And then literally, basically overnight, literally, basically, that's so stupid. Not literally, but almost literally, it became like a fundamentalist Muslim country.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty fascinating place. And we have a lot of Persians in LA, of course, a huge culture of Persians here.
I deeply, deeply, deeply love Iranian cinema because a lot of Iranian cinema that was made, there was kind of like an Iranian new wave in the late 80s and early 90s. And a lot of those films that were still made after the revolution are films that are like very humanist, very emotional, very metatextual, while also being slyly critical of the political landscape in one way or another. I cannot recommend the films of Abbas Kiarostami enough. I deeply, deeply, deeply love them. Also, my biggest professor when I was in college in Chicago was the Iranian film scholar Myrna Said Vafa, who is the one who introduced me to things like The Color of Pomegranates and the Armenian film and things like Black Girl and the films of Usman Sembene, and like really gave me a more like multicultural perspective of Middle Eastern and African and Asian cinema. And like Cloud Capstar and the films out of India. And she is absolutely incredible. She's alive. She's written multiple books on Abbas Kiarostami. And usually if you buy a Blu-ray of any one of his movies, she's the one giving the commentary track. I highly recommend Close Up. I, after watching Universal Language over the weekend, I then in another emotional low point, significantly further emotional low point earlier this week, I then watched Kiarostami's Where is the Friend's House, which Universal Language owes a lot to, which is about a boy who is like heavily reprimanded by his teacher that if he doesn't bring a notebook to school rather than just like loose pieces of paper, he'll be expelled. And the boy is like belittled to the point of tears. And his classmate next to him accidentally comes home with that kid's notebook. And so he has to like go against the chores he has to do and the strict upbringing of his parents to do the right thing, which is to travel from his town to the one over the hill to bring this classmate back his notebook before the next day. And constantly no adult will listen to him. He can't get the proper directions. Everyone wants something from him. And all these parents want to teach him a lesson. Meanwhile, he's just trying to do the simple, honest, pure thing. And it is so goddamn beautiful. And it brought me to tears. And then Kiarostami, like it's the first of a trilogy he made. He then revisited it and the town in kind of pseudo documentary follow-ups after an earthquake devastated the location that it was shot at, and a lot of people died. He came back and made a movie called And Life Goes On, trying to see if the actors from that film were still alive. And then he made another film a few years after that called Through the Olive Trees. That's like a meta-textual film about the making of And Life Goes On, about one of the actors being used in that falling in love with someone that was cast to play his wife that has no interest in him. It's deeply fascinating. I first saw his movie Taste of Cherry when I was in high school or something like that, which I also think you would love. It's about a man who wants to commit suicide, but because of his religious beliefs, he needs to be buried after his death. So he is driving around Tehran in a car, picking up strangers and taking them from point A to point B, and then asking them if they'll bury him after he's dead.
Whoa.
It is one of the most amazing films I've ever seen, and one of the most life-affirming films I've ever seen.
That sounds good.
His movies are incredible. So both Universal Language and then unintentionally I double featured it kind of with its main influence, where is The Friend's House, and it could not have asked for better films this week. I've gotten to see some really, really magical ones. Highly recommend checking out Universal Language.
Yeah, those both sound really good.
Cannot recommend Iranian cinema more.
Well, I watched something very different than that. This is a movie that you cannot see. But
I love taking that as a challenge.
I could.
Is it Day the Clown Cried? Did you finally watch the Day the Clown Cried?
Oh my god, I would love to. Can you imagine? I could probably hook you up if you were interested, but you may not be. This is a movie called Titillating Stephen that was made in 2003 by a pair of identical twins who do not look identical at all, who are actors trying to make it in the big city of Los Angeles. And so the movie is a fictionalized version of their real life, where they play two identical twin actors who can't get work. So they decide to write their own script. And they think to make it big, they're going to get this script in the hands of big shot director Steven Spielstein, who is opening a restaurant, and they try to get it to him by becoming waitresses at the restaurant and getting it to him. It's shot on VHS. It is from 2003, but it feels very grounded in Gen X 90s indie cinema. The characters have monologues into camera. It kind of feels a bit like Swingers or Clerks, or kind of like that tone. A lot of the script is very good. The actors are very good. You can tell that these are people that just like met each other in various acting classes. But it's not all good. I mean, not everything is good. There's some scenes where I'm like, "Ooh, cut this scene." And there's a scene where somebody is playing a character with Down syndrome, unfortunately, and it comes off like a lead balloon.
That's 2003 for you.
Yeah. I noticed in the closing credits there were 7 cinematographers listed. So it was just like whoever could run a camera that day. The two sisters directed the movie themselves, which they shouldn't have. They're also starring in it. You know what I mean? It's just, I think, too much for them. But there are flashes of really good stuff. And it's, like I said, shot on VHS. And somebody I was watching it with called it like the film version of community theater. And I had never thought of these movies that way, but it really is what they are. These kind of like handmade, no budget, kind of like Blonde Death or other shot on video or regional cinema. And so I was like just interested in that idea of like community theater for film, community film. Because that's really what it was.
I like that. I like very scrappy handmade, let's just do it, that are like so idiosyncratic to the point of originality, which again, Blonde Death is the like brilliant genius version of that, or something like Multiple Maniacs before John Waters became an institution.
Yeah.
Or to a degree, the original Night of the Living Dead.
Totally. A lot of regional cinema, which is a thing that barely exists anymore, unfortunately. I think that actors should make movies about being actors? No, I don't. That's a thing I do not need for the most part. It's like reading a novel about a novelist. It's like, really? I mean, and there's actually a lot of examples of that I love.
You're literally wearing a Stephen King shirt.
I know, it's true. So I don't know. If someone is interested, I could probably hook them up with it, but it just was like, it got me kind of buzzing about the idea of like community theater for film.
Yeah.
And truthfully, I didn't really watch anything else, except I rewatched the documentary Tickled. Did you ever see that?
Oh, I definitely saw Tickled when it came out. I saw that popped up on Letterboxd that you'd watched Tickled, and I was like, why?
Well, I'll tell you why. A certain friend of mine got offered to adapt it into a scripted series, but he hadn't seen it. And I was like, let's watch it. And so we watched it, and he was like, I don't think that would make a good TV show. And I was like, no, probably not, but it's a good documentary.
Yeah. It's so weird that we are living in an era now where true crime documentaries, even if Tickled only kind of counts as a true crime documentary.
Yeah, there's like no murder or anything.
That those are all now being adapted into like prestige miniseries with like, you know, some big A to B list actor in a lead role and executive producer credit, which, you know, will get an Emmy nomination and not much else.
That whole documentary is like, just be normal about your fetish. You don't have to do all of this. Like, it's not that bad. It is sort of, I don't kind of understand fetishes that are not sexual in some direct way, you know, like,
yeah,
they don't even take their clothes off. It doesn't lead to sex. It's just like men fully clothed tickling each other, and it
like balloon popping and stuff like that, where you're like,
right, yeah. Okay. I mean, I kind of intellectually understand, like the balloon popping one is like, oh, when's that balloon gonna pop?
There's like a tension there,
a tension that I get, but
there's like a childhood association, which I feel like a lot of fetishes to a degree stem from some kind of a like recapturing something.
Yeah,
for a lot of people.
I thought that people, I mean, my assumption, and I guess this might be incorrect, is like people who have like, say, a foot fetish, that the foot is included in like sexual acts. I didn't think it was just looking at feet by itself, but maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe I'm naive. I was like, just assuming you would jerk somebody off with your foot or something. I don't know, but maybe it's just like seeing a foot alone.
Well, we'll put a pin in this conversation for now, and then when we have Quentin Tarantino on, we can get further answers.
Yeah, let us know. Write to us.
Or if we ever get to be guests on his podcast, we'll bring it up there.
Yeah. Foot freaks and shrimp queens, hit us up at bloodhousepod@gmail.com. Let us know if you jerk off to just images of feet, or if you need them to be like more sexualized than that. We're no judgment. We just want to know.
I mean, there's also people that like their whole thing is like what the mukbang videos of people like someone like steps on a cake and you're like, oh.
Well, see, is that? Oh my god, I have to tell you something that made me think of. But like, is that sexual? I thought it was. I don't know. It is.
Yes.
Okay. And it's just eating a lot, like gorging.
I know it's not people that are like eating a bunch of food. It's like making a mess. So it's like, I'm going to pour essentially a bowl of cereal into an Air Jordan and then put a foot in it.
My fetish is the opposite of mine. My fetish is like, let's clean this up. Let's get this place spick and span.
Oh, you're the little Dutch boy from Minecraft, Idaho.
Yeah. What I was going to say is you made me remember a website from the 2000s that was called Cake Farts.
I've heard about this. Yeah.
A porn video. It was a porn video, just one video of a woman sitting. She's like, let's fart on this fucking cake, and she just like sits down in a cake and starts farting into it. And it was like being rickrolled. Is like my friend group would just like
send it to each other. Yeah.
Cake farts. I think it was cakefarts.org. Not even .com.
Well, yeah, it's a nonprofit. Yeah. It's a 501c3. Yeah. Obviously.
And she's like making sex noises while she farts into a chocolate cake.
I mean, listen, that's probably someone's fetish. And again, if you're not hurting someone and all you're doing is making a cake, go for it.
I think it's great. I'm all for it.
Absolutely. I was listening to the audiobook of John Waters' role models last week as I was working.
That's such a funny book.
It's so goddamn funny. And at one point in it, he brings up necrophilia, which John Waters then proclaims to be the only fetish other than scat that I've never participated in.
Those are the real like taboo ones, I would say, that are, like we've kind of gotten pretty open-minded as a society, and I think those
corpse fucking will always be the like
yeah,
maybe not.
Yeah. I don't know how to pivot into our movie of the day after all.
Well, if you like dead bodies, you'll love.
This is a very classy film, actually.
This is a very classy film. I, in rewatching this film on the Criterion Channel, there was like an interview with Bill Hader and Peter Becker, the president of the Criterion Collection, talking about this movie. And in the like lead up to like, oh, The Vanishing, Peter Becker, president of the Criterion Collection, like perked up with glee and was like, this is one of my favorite movies to be scared by. And I was like, dude, you go so hard. I deeply appreciate it. Hell yeah. Thank you.
Such an incredible movie. This is a movie by director George Slizer from 1988. It is The Vanishing.
Mijn nachtmerrie. Vannacht heb ik het weer gedroomd.
Van het gouden ei. Dat je opgesloten zat in het gouden ei en niet uit kon en eeuwig alleen door de rente.
Ja, afschuwelijk is dat, die eenzaamheid.
I saw this probably, 25 years ago or so. Then again, maybe 5 years ago, and then watched it for the podcast for the third time.
Mm-hmm.
I like it I like it more every time I watch it.
Me too.
This time I was like, this is a fucking masterpiece. Like,
yeah,
this is so good. It really upsets me. It really stresses me out. It's also kind of boring in a good way. You know what I mean? Like it just is a great movie.
In a way that like works for the tension and for the character development. It does remind me of Cure and Arapato to a degree, which we've covered previously, and the way that it really gets under your skin, A, and B, kind of slyly creeps up on you, and it kind of metatextually does to you what's happening to the characters. You, the audience, which I think is brilliant. It's
like the frog in the boiling pot kind of thing.
Very much, yeah. You don't realize how far into it you are until it's too late. I saw this. I've only seen this one time before now, and that was in high school. And when I tell you, my mother gave me a DVD of this for Christmas when I was 16. I think because I was right in my first year or two of like super getting into art house films. So like anything that was foreign language or had a Criterion logo on it, I wanted to see it, and I wanted it now, and I was so hungry for that in a way that I still am, but I was like, teenage appetite for art was like ravenous. And I loved Hitchcock movies, and my mother really loves Hitchcock movies, and that was like a big thing that we shared, especially at that time. And so I think she was like, okay, like here's like an art house movie, and it has, it's being like mentioned in every blurb about it as like having like some kind of a Hitchcock thriller nature to it. Sure, fine. And so I watched it at 16, and I was like, And it's always kind of lived in my memory of like, that one's fucked up, right? And really haven't gone past that, because when the first time you watch it, you don't know where it goes. You don't have any inclination to where it goes, and I don't know how much we should get into that in this. All I will say is watching it the second time now for this, both being a bit more mature and also knowing what I was in store for, I didn't realize just how finely woven the narrative is and the way it presents itself. There's so much kind of like treated as like fateful foreshadowing throughout it that like on the second watch is so emotionally powerful.
I mean, it's kind of a movie about fate.
Very
ultimately.
much so. And like a lack of choice.
Yeah.
And agency. and the fear that comes from the fear that you can project by taking choice and taking agency, and the fear that comes from having no choice and having no agency, whether that be fate or not. But also, just straight out the gate, the movie is called The Vanishing for an American audience. It's called Spoorloos for a Dutch audience, which is the original title, which just means without a trace.
Yeah.
And so no matter what your preconceived notions are going in, if you heard nothing about this movie or if you've seen like marketing materials and things like that, you know that someone is going to go missing. It's called The Vanishing, you know, like generally the setup. And so there's like 3 false starts essentially at the beginning of this movie of like this main couple on a holiday together from Amsterdam to France.
Right.
A little road trip they're doing. And there's multiple points at which they get separated, either by their own choice or not, where you're very much expecting, oh shit, that's when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So when it finally happens, you're a little not as on guard for it to happen. And it can happen a little bit more slyly in a way that I think is brilliant.
It's really interesting structurally. So what happens is this couple from Amsterdam is vacationing in France. It's during the French Open. They not the French Open. What's the bike race called?
The Tour. The Tour de France.
The Tour de France. Thank you. Yeah. It happens during the Tour de France. They stop at a gas station to get, a snack and some beverage. She goes in, never comes out. And there's a long sequence where he's looking for her at the gas station. It's really busy because it's during the Tour de France. We know that she's been taken, both because of the title, but we also see the killer in the car, or presumably the killer. We don't know what he actually does with her.
But we see a man like putting on a fake cast and then putting a bottle of something next to the fake cast and then leaving his car.
Yeah.
And
so from that point on, we're toggling back and forth between the man Rex, who has lost his wife, and this other man who is the killer. But
what I think is great about the structure of that is that when we finally fully leave Rex to follow the killer's kind of narrative for a while, we just like fully jump into the killer's narrative for a while.
Yeah.
And what we initially are seeing is like a very detached domestic like perspective of him. And even the way it presents it and the way it's cut and edited, it's understated. It's very like, oh, he's having dinner with his family, they're outside, a kid sees a spider and yells, now they're all playing around and yelling, and then it cuts to like the next day and he like talks to a farmhand who's like, hey, I'm so sorry, we thought we heard some screaming the other day, did you guys hear that from up here? Oh no, you didn't? Good. And that's when you realize fully kind of the machinations. And it also takes you a moment to realize where you are temporarily, because at first you're like, oh, this guy clearly has these intentions, but he's dog shit at this. And then you realize this is a flashback. He's getting better.
Yeah. He's practicing everything. So
on his children.
That's like the most chilling moment to me. So he's like practicing what he's going to do. He's going to invite a woman into his car. Then he's going to reach across with one hand, lock the car door, and then grab her around the neck with the other hand with chloroform. And we see him doing this in his empty car over and over again. And then he picks up his kid from school and does it to her, but then pinches her nose instead of, chloroforms her. So it's really disgusting. He even practices chloroforming himself with a stopwatch so he knows how long he'll have with a person being out, doing calculations based on how much chloroform versus that person's assumed weight, like stuff like that. It's really, really gross. And then eventually, 3 years pass after the first woman disappears, and her husband has spent those 3 years having a really unsuccessful new relationship, but also going back and forth between the Netherlands and France, putting up signs, making media appearances about his missing wife. And eventually he says on TV to the killer, like, I just want to know what happened. I don't want revenge on you. And so the killer actually finds him, and they have like, basically we get a two-hander for the rest of the film where the killer goes through exactly what happened to his wife. It is maybe the most successful slow burn of all time. I mean, this is exactly what a slow burn is ideally supposed to do. There is this theme of fate, because right at the start of the movie, the wife in the car says to her husband, I had this dream again. And she's been having this dream that she is floating in space in a golden egg, and she's never been more lonesome in her life. And it's like an existential, terrifying loneliness. And somewhere else, there's another person floating in a golden egg, but they can't get to each other. And she fears that they're going to crash into each other. And so this is based on a novella called The Golden Egg. And I was wondering last night, I was like, The Golden Egg's not really a good movie title. It's a good story title, but not movie title. But I was like, they should have called this The Golden Egg a little bit. And so that's the thematic through line of this. It's the idea of fate. Very,
very much so. And there's so, in the kind of two-hander segment at the end of the film, the last third, essentially, it's kind of broken up into thirds. The opening third of the couple on the vacation, where you know something's going to happen, and the second portion in which you watch the killer kind of train and become himself. And then finally their confrontation, and within that conversation, in that relationship, it both expresses the theme of the film through those two men and their similarities and differences, but then also that is what finally gets us to discovering what really happened to her at the gas station and afterwards. And that's where a lot of these conversations start to really thread together and take on a lot of weight. One of the most important things is the killer tells the man a story of when he was a child and broke his arm from jumping out of like a third-story window because he looked down and decided, you know, I'm sure everyone else thinks about jumping all the time, but no one does it. I'm gonna do it. And I just have to imagine that I'm fated to not jump, so I will defy fate. So I feel like this like continuing trajectory that kind of brings him down this fated path is one hand both presented as like an unstoppable force, which is very much like propelling since the beginning of the movie, and is this kind of like omniscient objective view of the whole film. But then it also plays into question the degree of that not being the case, and of human choice and free will, because at every step of the game, he has the decision, Rex, the grieving husband, has the decision to not do this. This has become an obsession for him, in the same way this has become an obsession for the killer, who at one point, when his wife, in one of the flashbacks, the killer's wife, asks him if he's cheating on her or not, tells her that, no, I'm just taking care of the old house in the country. And it's an obsession. Once you get that thought in your mind, you have to see it to its furthest conclusion. And both of these men are afflicted by this obsession in opposite ways.
Yeah. The performances here are really good, particularly among these two men. Our killer is like, that performance is so good because he's pretty charming. He's, in spite of watching him do this,
he's jovial when he needs to be. Yeah,
he's like a good dad, to some degree, a good husband. He does have what I think is super disgusting: a beard with no mustache.
It's a chin strap beard. It's awful. It's like just there, and it's pretty long. That's the first thing when you see him, you're like, oh, I don't trust this guy.
Yeah, no.
I will say there is a very telling runner throughout the film about him. Should also be noted that like this is a film made by a Dutch like creative team and centers on Dutch characters in France, and the villain of the movie is French, so there's definitely something in there. But also there's a very telling kind of runner throughout the movie with the killer and his family, his daughter first approaches him and says, "Dad, do you have a mistress?" And he's like, "No, what do you mean I have a mistress?" And she was like, "No, it's fine. Men your age like are allowed to have a mistress. So like if you do, I won't tell mom." And like he is then confronted by his wife whether or not, and he dismisses it and tells her not to worry. And then later in the film, for like his birthday, his daughter's gifts are around like, "We won't tell mom about the thing that I know." And it's like, also when he goes to like do practice runs of kidnapping and murdering women, one of the women that he attempts to pick up, he doesn't realize knows him. And when she recognizes him, moment. It's one of my favorite moments of the movie, and it's one of the most fucked up. She is going, "Oh, you're just trying to pick up Strange. Like, you should go out to the like rest stop by the highway. There's so many foreigners out there that won't recognize you, and you can pick up women and cheat on your wife there."
Oh, see, that wasn't my read of her reaction, though. I think that she was telling him off, but she's like, "I've got your number. If you're just trying to pick up women, go to this." You know what I mean? That's how I read it.
Yeah.
But the French are more accepting of like extramarital affairs, seemingly.
I mean, it's kind of a stereotype about France in the way that like the stereotype of an American man is that he's driving around in his pickup truck, toting his gun and American flag and shooting and everything. And
there's some truth to that.
There's people like that. And as much the like stereotype about the French man is like fucking Louis Jourdan, Pepe Le Pew.
I was going to say Pepe Le Pew.
Or who's the, oh my God, who am I thinking of? Basically, whenever I think of a French man in my head, I'm always picturing Charles Boyer.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Gerard Depardieu.
Oh. Gerard Depardieu is one of the ugliest men in the world. If I had to spend an evening with either Gerard Depardieu or the husband killer from The Vanishing, I would choose the chin strap beard guy from The Vanishing.
I do like that he is self-aware. Like he has a conversation with Rex about being a sociopath.
Yeah.
You know, and he's very forthcoming by saying, like, I have this personality quirk, which people don't seem to be able to notice most of the time, and I'm a sociopath. And I always really like it when people, I think it's interesting when people are self-aware about that. I watched that Hulu miniseries, The Act, about Elizabeth Holmes, or not the Act, the Elizabeth Holmes one about Theranos.
The Dropout.
The Dropout, thank you. She, according to this miniseries, that character was like self-aware. She got drunk at a Christmas party and told her boyfriend, like, you know, I can't feel things the way that other people feel things. It's just like a really good, creepy moment.
I mean, listen, this topic always comes really home for me, especially in movies like this, because when I was 14, my brother was diagnosed as being a sociopath by maybe this isn't a thing I should be saying on a podcast, but whatever, we'll leave it in. By multiple mental health professionals at a rehab, at a rehab facility that he was in, court mandated, and they were stopping treatment following this diagnosis that because standard addiction related treatment is not tailored to people with that mental condition, and it's something that is brought up a lot in, you know, American movies, whether it's from the like schlocky William Castle depiction of like, the sociopath has a knife and it will kill again, or more nuanced Mary Harron kind of American Psycho depiction of like, or Wolf of Wall Street depiction of like, this is what capitalism wants. This is like the way
which
that
is, a fair critique.
Yeah. And I think that critique is in The Vanishing, if more subtle, in that, you know, Rex and his wife are presented as being lower class, not as financially well off. They are very emotionally driven in all of their decisions and actions. She is very kind and very open. He is very emotionally driven, not always towards kindness, but does resolve that way in retrospect. And he's not that well off. It's like position that he could have had some opportunities for that, but focus more on his relationship with her, and then especially following her disappearance has fallen down that rabbit hole. Meanwhile, he is a professor. He's exceptionally well off. It's also implied that he's from money too, because the house where he's been restoring and like kind of planning his murders at is one that he inherited.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, he has a family home that he lives with his wife and his 2 daughters. And then also he has an apartment in town that then from the flashback, you kind of see that he grew up at. So he has 3 pieces of property.
Right.
Like, and there's like a servant that like kind of cleans up their home a little bit too. Like he's very financially well off and is secure financially and has a very erudite perception of himself and by the people around him. He's never perceived as being suspicious because of this.
Yeah, there's a great scene where he's on a day trip with his family, and they see a little girl drowning in the river, and he watches for a minute, and you can see that he's thinking about whether or not he should help this little girl. He's somewhat unmoved, right? But he jumps in, rescues the little girl anyway, and then his daughter's like, "You're a hero," and he's like, "Of course I am." And so he's just like a sociopath tends to be, completely full of himself and has a grandiose picture of himself.
Narcissism and sociopathy tend to go pretty well hand in hand.
Yeah.
I
wonder what your take on this. I don't know. I got in hot water once because I don't know. It's probably like about a Republican politician or something, but I was like, this person is a sociopath. And someone was like, you shouldn't say that. That's ableist. And I was like, I guess it is, but also like, I don't have time to worry about people who don't have feelings. Do you know what I mean? I sort of felt like, I don't know. It is probably ableist, but it's also like, come on, like, I don't know. From your silence now, I'm like uncomfortable.
If there's one community I will be ableist about, it's people who are sociopaths. I'm sorry. I have no tolerance and forgiveness.
Considering I'm not saying we should kill them or anything, but it's like,
no, that's not what I'm saying.
Don't I don't know. I just feel like it was like, do you have to do this? Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to virtue signal this way.
The only time that it comes up that a person would or would not have sociopathic or sociopathic tendencies is when they've done something heinous, right? That's when it comes up. To diagnose it fully, so like something has to have happened. Like some kind of behavior has to be expressed to then track it back. To like fully like clock and verify that. And you have to do a lot of work and choose to do a lot of work as someone that's been diagnosed with sociopathy to like move beyond that. Meanwhile, the thing about sociopathy is that you don't want to, right?
Yeah.
So I like, it is a mental health issue. It is literally a genetic, wiring of the brain that is not perceived as normal and perceived as aberrant. And, there's a lot of things that we put a stigma on that are related to the mental health field that don't need a stigma and that are harmful stigmas. I will say, though, that sociopathic tendencies and the definition thereof across the board is a dangerous one, is a harmful one. So I don't think we need to do any like ooh-woo hand coddling of sociopaths.
Right. It's the same thing that happens with psychopaths too. And it's like psychopaths need help. They need to be medicated. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. There's like this kind of like,
psychopathy is a lot more sympathetic because psychopathy is like that your perception of reality is shifting and is different. That like,
well, I guess what all this is coming from in my heart and mind is there's been a push away from stigmatizing mental health issues, which is good. But there's like a thing that happens where it happens like something more palatable, let's say like autism, right? Where someone will be like, autism is my secret power, my superpower. And that's great that that person is living with some pride and all of that. But there are people who are so autistic that they have to wear helmets so that they don't injure themselves. Do you know what I mean? And so there comes a point where you're sort of being dishonest about mental health. Like someone with psychopathy has to seek help. They oftentimes don't know what's real or not. And so that's not your superpower. That's psychopathy. And if I'm being my highest, kindest self, I would say that somebody who is a sociopath, I have a lot of respect and empathy for somebody who's seeking treatment and is very self-aware of it and is not acting out on it. But I'm not being my kindest, highest self on social media. And I think people can just relax a little bit when you say that somebody is a sociopath flippantly.
Well, I also
that's where I am.
think that at mental health, period, especially mental health issues, are incredibly gray topic in terms of like
they almost have
perception.
To be.
It's inherently not black and white. And so I understand the like knee-jerk 180 black and white perception of like, we need to stop saying that this is bad, this is good, and we need to normalize it and make sure that everyone knows that this is good. And like, 70% of the time, 80% of the time, I have ADHD, I have PTSD. I will say I probably wouldn't have PTSD if I wasn't raised in a household with someone who has sociopathy.
It's very likely that you the other thing I'll say about this, and then we can move on to some other topic, is that because of the concept of elite capture, whoever is doing the talking for any particular community is going to be the most privileged person from that community. So when someone's saying, you know, my example with autism, like someone saying autism is my superpower, it's like, well, that's forgetting like everybody who's completely nonverbal or, you know, like could harm themselves because they're so severely autistic. So that's just another thing to keep in mind when you're having all of these conversations about ableism.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think of all the mental health issues, many of which are invisible, the one that is maybe the most invisible is the hardest to diagnose, and is on top of that one that people intentionally try to hide, is sociopathy. And that's dangerous. So
he says it in the movie, right? He says it's imperceptible to people that I have this personality difference.
I think calling out sociopathic behavior as being sociopathic behavior is not ableist. Flat out. I think it's important to be called out. And I think if you as a human being are going about your life and multiple different people start to say to you that you are expressing tendencies in a specific direction, that maybe, you know, taking time with that. Again, like similar to your point, I know some people that are like, I'm neurospicy and I have this, that, and the other, and among them they'll list like BPD and borderline personality disorder and stuff like that, which like, those are really tough things to live with. And if you are doing the work and like working on yourself amongst that, then I have so much goddamn respect for you, because that's a very, very tough thing to live with. But if you self-diagnose or were just diagnosed and then you're just like slapping that in your Twitter bio just to be like, give me space and give me sympathy because I have a label to hang around my neck, I don't know anyone who's like super excited and proud that they have BPD. That is a thing that they're working with, that they're working on. Like, I don't know. I
all that
think
shit makes me crazy.
I think
sorry to use an ableist term once again.
It just makes me cuckoo bananas. I mean, truly, nutto pants. Yeah, I think it's a lot more complicated, and I think it's not binary in any way, shape, or form, and I don't think it should ever be perceived as such. And come for me if you want, but I have more experience with dealing with sociopathy and with people with sociopathy than most people who tweet about it. So I'm comfortable in my read of the world due to my experience of the world. So that's all I'm gonna say. I will, other than the fact that movies centered around and dealing with characters with sociopathy are a tough sell for me for obvious reasons. Obviously he's the villain of The Vanishing, and we do spend a lot of time with him, but we are not in no way, shape, or form sympathetic to him. And there's other central characters in the movie as well. So it's not a turn off for me. I do the one movie that I did watch and then start to realize how much of it was going to be taking that direction to the point that it hit too close to home that I had to turn off was the Shoei Imamura film Vengeance is Mine, which is very much a depiction of a sociopathic serial killer, which usually that stuff, one way or another, but it's also very much about his family as well, and a lot of other things that I couldn't do it. And honestly, in a different way, the Dennis Hopper movie Out of the Blue, similarly.
Oh, I love that movie.
I love that movie. I didn't fully know where it was going to be going. And so when it came to the last half hour of it, I literally had to call my therapist after.
I never watched the movie of this, but I did read the book. We Need to Talk About Kevin.
Yeah, I've avoided it because of that.
It's really it's a hard one. I'd say avoid it for the rest of your life, probably.
I want to see the movie. I love everyone involved in it. And again, in Role Models, John Waters is recommending the book. And I think that was written before the movie came out because he was like, it would make a great movie. And I was like, well, Lynn Ramsey's read this. So speaking of the way that we can handle complicated topics very, very bluntly and clumsily, there's an American remake of this movie.
Oh, I forgot. I've never seen it. I totally forgot that existed.
It's from the same director.
Oh, he did it again?
Yeah, he did it again.
He's back at it.
It's the same director. Jeff Bridges takes on the part of the sociopath. Kiefer Sutherland takes on the part of Rex. And a young Sandy Bullock.
Oh wow!
Takes on the role of Saskia, the wife who disappears.
Bad because everyone says it's so terrible, but
it's so terrible. Well, here's part of the reason. First of all, the kind of failed relationship that Rex has in the second part of the movie, which is more so to demonstrate that he's not doing well, becomes a main romantic thrust of the film. Mm-hmm. She's now played by Nancy Travis. And it becomes a major thing of Kiefer Sutherland runs into her in a bar and she's working as a waitress in a diner and they start to form a relationship and he never tells her about his missing wife. I think it's a girl. They're just boyfriend and girlfriend in the remake. And when he starts to get clues further about things that happened, he lies to her that he's joining a Weekend Warriors military program and buys an army suit from a surplus store and puts it on once a week to be I'm going out to do my army drills, and then goes to a motel to write a novel he's writing about her disappearance because he thinks that Nancy Travis wouldn't approve of this. Anyway, it then follows the same structure of Jeff Bridges then reaches out to him and they have their one-hander in the car. So the two-hander in the car. And then it ends, essentially, in the same place that The Vanishing ends, with, which I will not spoil for listeners because I do think you should watch it without knowing where that goes. And it puts the Rex character, now played by Kiefer Sutherland, in that exact same situation and come to a point. And then you're like, yep, that's exactly where the 88 film ends. And then it cuts back to Nancy Travis in her apartment. And she's gotten a voicemail from Kiefer Sutherland that has a little bit of Jeff Bridges' voice on it from when he came in. It like caught a little bit of his voice, and she's able to deduce who he is, track him down, and like finds his daughter. And then the daughter's like, I'll take you to him. And the two of them together go there and they save Kiefer Sutherland.
No.
Yup. And then they kill Jeff Bridges with a shovel. And then they see the grave of Sandra Bullock. And he's like, now I have closure. And now I can be fully committed to you, Nancy Travis. Roll credits. 20th Century Fox presents The Vanishing.
How did that happen? Who let this happen?
Right?
That's crazy.
They give it the American Hollywood ending. It reminds me, you've seen The Player, right? The Robert Altman movie. It reminds me so much in The Player how Richard E. Grant is pitching the like super dramatic movie about the woman who dies on death row, and they're like, wow, I can't believe it. I can't believe that he was going to pitch something this bleak and this dark. He's like, everyone's going to cry, not a dry eye in the house, and like, boom, Oscars. Everyone's going to love it. And then it cuts to the end of the movie, and it's like a year later, and now it's Bruce Willis, and he like saves her from the gas chamber, and then has some corny line about traffic was a bitch, and like... Yeah. It's just all the people like in the courtroom are all like Peter Falk and Paul Dooley, like big name actors in the supporting cast and stuff like that. It's entirely been rewritten.
The end of this movie, which we won't spoil, truly is so poetic and beautiful, but also absolutely horrifying. Made me feel existential dread and made me feel so sad and hopeless, but it is also so satisfying and so poetic. I loved it.
The first time I watched this movie, the end really just absolutely dropped me out and horrified me. And it's just kind of like, boom, and you're done. It really pulls the rug out from under you and then rolls the credits and you're like, holy fucking shit. There's also a camera move in that final like dark sequence that like gives you an almost 360 of the scenario that I don't know how they shot that. It's crazy, but it's so good at demonstrating the like emotional feeling of like where they are, which again is also hinted at in the car and the two-hander when he talks about when the killer talks about being extremely claustrophobic and stuff. And so the first time I watched it, I like was really like taken away by how it ends. And then on this rewatch, I was thinking of that end the entire time watching the movie.
Yeah. And
you can feel all the threads leading there every step of the way, from the most inane conversations and mentions. And so when you finally get that moment, it's really, really poetic and actually weirdly like narratively satisfying.
It's
on
very
a repeat
satisfying.
Watch rather than like the kind of dropout that you get the first time. It's brilliantly done.
It also feels it made me feel really sad because it feels inevitable. So once again, the idea of fate, and that no matter what these people chose, even if it were a different choice, it would have led to this place. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just it's so sad.
One of the things that really illustrates that is we do get all of the kind of flashbacks to the killer training and preparing culminates in finally watching her final moments at the gas station. And when you realize the amount of near misses that this man has had with other women, that like that he almost kidnapped someone else, if not for this thing, and also she almost got away from him multiple times, if not for this thing, and if not for this thing, and not for this thing. All of it feels like, the butterfly effect of these few things stack up in this way, in which only leads to that more immutable concept of fate just constantly pulling you in one direction.
Such a bummer.
Oh God.
But perfect movie. Just
truly
so fucking good.
This is one of the best films we've covered. Again, like in the same vein as Cure and Arabato. Yeah. And also it's a different mode entirely, but all of those elements that I see as a through line between those films, I think is also in Lake Mungo. I think Lake Mungo has a similar kind of pull of fate at its core. And is a similar slow burn as this that I think is similarly genius. And this kind of does the Lake Mungo thing too, a little bit to a degree, when they're at the gas station and he takes a photo of the car and then looks back at it later and sees that she's in the photo.
Yeah. I would also say it's a little bit like My Favorite Rosemary's Baby in that it's just like so controlled. It's like really in control of every single moment. The pace is just like so dialed in. There's no fat, even though it's kind of a slow, quiet movie. It's not meandering. It's like incredibly taut. And I just think it's so good.
Yeah.
I love it.
And it's a movie that, though it has surprises in store for you and potentially twists, depends on how you define those words, that repeat viewings don't diminish those. There's movies like The Usual Suspects is always my example for this, that like there is a central twist or mystery at the core of it, and then once it's revealed in its final moments, you go, and then you watch it again and that, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
So what?
Exactly. Yeah.
The Vanishing is not that. The Vanishing deepens further and further that you watch it. And I think that is magical and kind of a miracle. Yeah. It's really hard to do.
Movie. Let's play Have They Seen It? The game where we speculate wildly whether notable figures have seen this movie. This person is French. She's arty farty. Vanessa Paradis.
I love Vanessa Paradis.
Me too.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like
this seems like it was a kind of big splashy movie in a way, right?
This was a really big splashy hit when it came out in '88. And
even here, right? Like it seems like it was a international hit in art film circles.
It really was. Again, like it got an American remake, and not like a dismissive, like a bad American remake, but not a dismissive American remake where they change everything and it's a different filmmaker and it's maybe not that high profile. It was a big name cast. The director came back, like, even though they did change things and make it fucking inferior and stupid and undercut the entire theme of the movie. For a love conquers all sort of ending.
Jeez.
It was given respect in terms of treatment because it was perceived as being an important film. Which I think is really big. I definitely think Vanessa, and I feel like it also had a resurgence in like the late 90s, early 2000s. It was definitely a big influence on a lot of the films that David Fincher was making in the late 90s and early 2000s, thinking like Zodiac and Seven and things like that. So I feel like it was very much in the conversation at that time. I don't really think it is anymore. I haven't heard people talk about it in a while, which is surprising. But hopefully it can have a little rediscovery. Yeah, I definitely think Vanessa Paradis has seen it.
Me too. Agree.
So, well, I mentioned this person already, but only in kind of a joking connection to a different movie that came out between this and the remake. And that would, of course, be The Player. And, of course, one of my favorite, if not my favorite actor of all time, Richard E. Grant.
The best.
The best of Withnell and I and How to Get Ahead in Advertising and Dracula and Age of Innocence and Spice World. Do you think that Richard E. Grant has seen The Vanishing?
I do. He seems classy. He's going to film festivals. You know, he was young and spry in 1988. I think he would have seen it like at a festival.
Yeah, this came out the same year as How to Get Ahead in Advertising, which was like his biggest lead role at the time. I
love that movie.
I love that movie so much, and I'm trying to find out if we can have an excuse to cover it, because, like, I don't know, there's kind of horror in it. There's body horror.
Yeah, there's body
horror. Whatever. Yeah. So I feel like there's a possibility he could have seen it then. I also feel like he's a massive Barbra Streisand fan. I know that.
I know he's obsessed with Barbra Streisand.
It's adorable. By
the way, I don't know if did I send you his Architectural Digest tour?
No.
There's an AD tour of Richard E. Grant's Country House.
Oh, wait, I've seen...
Incredible.
Ivory sent me a clip from it. I haven't watched the full thing, but Ivory sent me a clip from it because he's talking about his house, and he was like, it's all candlelight. We don't... light bulbs aren't... He says something about light bulbs not being flattering and that only candles are, and Ivory was like, this is the home decor I'm going for. He gets me.
Drusilla, he collects masks. His walls are like covered with creepy old masks.
He's so cool.
He's the best.
He's so sweet. I adore him. If anyone is listening and is a fan of his, I deeply, deeply recommend listening to his episode of the Off Menu podcast. Basically him talking about food with two British comedians. Obsessed with him. Super sweet. I feel like he's not a horror fan. I feel like...
Yeah, I don't think he would like it.
yeah. I feel like if you mentioned The Vanishing to him, he would shudder and like be a little like shocked if you said that you liked it. But I feel like he would respect it and feel like he has seen it. But definitely, like, if you had him over for movie night and you recommended it, he, like, as an option, he would like grab his coat.
Yeah, I think he wants to watch something like Blazing Saddles. Or like, you know, I think he's like a comedy drama kind of person.
He wants to watch Funny Lady.
Yeah.
Funny Girl. He wants to watch Funny Lady.
What's up, Doc?
Yeah.
This person, you mentioned Kiefer Sutherland. This person's kind of a contemporary of Kiefer Sutherland. Also has a famous actor father. I'm thinking about Emilio Estevez, star of The Breakfast Club.
Emilio
Estevez, I saw at that fancy grocery store in Malibu once, and he was wearing all linen and like a wide brim gardening hat, and I literally thought he was like an elderly woman. Like an elderly rich woman. And then I was like, oh my God, it's Emilio Estevez.
Sweetie boy, the better of the Estevez children.
Yeah.
Very, very much so. He's also a filmmaker. He's a director.
Yes.
He directed
made a movie
about Robert Kennedy. Senior. the better one who is dead. Bobby. And then he also made a kind of like survivalist film with his father, Martin Sheen.
Yeah, it's called The Way, and I saw that because it's about the Camino de Santiago in Spain, which I wrote a movie about, which hasn't been made. But you know, I wrote a haunted house movie set on the Camino de Santiago.
That rules.
It was a book adaptation I got hired to do, but they didn't make it yet. Maybe they will.
Yeah, I feel like Emilio has seen this. Again, doesn't strike me as a kind of guy who is going to go out of his way to watch a horror movie, but this is more of a thriller, which is always perceived as being a bit more like arty and palatable. But on top of that, it's like, you know, big celebrated Dutch film and arty film. I feel like he would dig this. I don't know if this would be like if you plunked him down into the Criterion Closet, which someone should do. But if you did, I don't imagine this is one he'd pull off the shelf. But I feel like he's definitely seen.
Star of Maximum Overdrive, Emilia Estevez.
And Rebo Man, come on.
And Rebo Man, of course. What's the name of the actor that's kind of like, who I love, but is kind of like a poor man's Emilio Estevez? He's the star of Return of the Living Dead. Tom Brown?
I literally
do you know what I'm talking about?
Living Dead
so
poster in the next room and I can see it.
Yeah.
It's
like Tom with an H.
Tom Matthews.
Tom Matthews, yeah. He was really cute too.
Yeah, he very much.
He's not seen The Vanishing.
He's definitely not seen The Vanishing. I mean,
he's the star of Friday the 13th Part 6 as well. I was like, what else is he in?
Yeah, Jason Lives.
Yeah.
I doubt it. But Emilio Estevez, I think, has definitely seen this.
Yeah, he's classier than people might think, I think.
So we similarly watched another kind of slow burn foreign film recently, but this was a lot more contemporary. And it was also from Canada. But it was really, really, really good. And the reason I'm thinking of it is because their film was kind of admonished as being like the new Fincher, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think of The Vanishing as proto-Fincher. Mm-hmm. Like, we wouldn't have Zodiac and we wouldn't have Social Network, which is dog shit. And we wouldn't have... It's bad.
It's the only Fincher I haven't seen, basically, because I was like, no thanks.
No thanks. And we wouldn't have Panic Room and all those great things without The Vanishing. I think The Vanishing is very much an important Uratext in his filmmaking language. So I'm wondering if the director of Red Room, Miss Pascal Plante, has seen The Vanishing.
For sure, don't you think?
Oh yeah, I feel like this would be like one of his faves.
God, Red Rooms is so good too.
It's
all the same ways as The Vanishing.
It's honestly you could do a double bill of these two, and that would
be a
really
work feature.
And like they're both looks into sociopathy.
Yeah,
and they're both very of French. Their moment and of their time. Yeah, they're both like French by abstraction, right? Yeah. In an interesting way.
French by association is such a funny term.
It feels like an insult.
Yeah, she's French by association. That's funny.
I also feel like if you watched these two movies back to back, they would reveal things about each other in ways that you wouldn't think about without the other one's influence. I don't know. I really, really liked Red Rooms, and I really, really, really love The Vanishing. And I think there's kind of a dialogue happening between them.
Yeah, there's something there for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this episode of Bloodhaus. Please rate it wherever you listen to podcasts. You can email us at bloodhousepod@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram. Drusilla, where can people find you?
Myself and my work are over at sisterhidedesign.com. There's a whole boatload of new stuff over there, so go check that out. You can follow me on Letterboxd if you look for Sister Hyde or Drusilla Adeline. You can follow me and all my arty-farty movies I've been watching lately over there. And I'm on Instagram for the time being at Sister Hyde. What about you, Josh? How can people creep up on you?
I am at Joshua Conkel on Blue Sky, Letterboxd, and Instagram. What is it to be next week?
We're getting a bit more contemporary, but we're going a lot further back into the past at the same time.
Life is compromises.
Exactly. You want a contemporary movie, you say, okay, well, what if we watched a black and white movie from set in the 17th century from 2013? So similarly, there's a few very large modern masters that were kind of talked about a lot on the podcast, but haven't actually covered. We recently did Guillermo del Toro, and this coming week, we'll be watching kind of the flagship film from Ben Wheatley in the kind of surreal, arty, and horrifying film, A Field in England.
Can't wait. I haven't seen that one.
Me neither. I'm excited.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.